So welcome to Market Discovery Workshop Germany. This is a part of the Seeds of Bravery project, who is here to support Ukrainian tech entrepreneurs, and it's funded or co-funded by the European Union. And if we go to the next slide quickly, I wanted to start with a small checking question. So if you can write in the chat, and we also then test the chat, how would you describe your previous experience working in the German market? And you can write like none, limited, extensive, or if you also want to provide an example. Please, like I said, leave a comment in the chat so we can see. It's totally okay to not have an experience because we're here to learn more about it. If we go to the next slide. So here's a short overview of the agenda. Now we're just going through the program, a bit about Seeds of Bravery. Then we're starting with an entrepreneur, Sebastian Winkler, who's going to talk about his insights on scaling in Germany. Then we have Ronit here with us from Hamburg Invest, who's going to talk about the investment landscape. After that, we have Blue Factory talking about the European entrepreneurship community in Germany. Then we have a small break for 10 minutes. And then we hear from Impact Hub. And I'm actually from Impact Hub Stockholm, but we're going to hear about from Impact Hub Germany. And then we end with some corporate and tax law from DLA Piper. And also, then we end with just some brief information about our upcoming deadlines for Seeds of Bravery. So if we go to the next slide, please. Just very short and brief about Seeds of Bravery. It's a 20 million euro project funded by the European Union and the European Innovation Council. And the mission is to support Ukrainian tech startups, as well as bringing them closer to the EU. We're going to talk a bit more about it in the end, but we have different support programs, and we both do financial support, but also non-financial support, like these kind of upskilling programs. And I think we can take one more slide. Yes, exactly. And I think one of the best parts is that we have a very large expertise, and it's reflected in our partners. We're almost 17, or we are 17 organizations and 2 associated partners working with this program. I'm from Impact Hub Sweden. I'm also here with my colleague from Access Book in Ireland, but we have colleagues all across Europe, as well in Ukraine. Maybe some you recognize, like I know YEP is quite big, Innovate as well. And I just think it's amazing that we are all working toward this common goal together. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk a bit more about Seeds of Bravery later. Here's an overview of programs. But I wanted to start and give over the mic to Sebastian Winkler, who is our German entrepreneur. And I'm so happy that you could join us today, Sebastian. And just for you and me, Veronica, I'm so happy that you can make it. And we have to turn off our camera, Veronica, because it sometimes lags when it's multiple. But the stage is yours, Sebastian. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. So I'm going to give you a short introduction into the German market and the challenges and opportunities. So let's see if that. So I hope you see my slides. Can somebody? Yeah, I think if nobody's complaining, you probably see my slides. So one slide about me. So I'm a B2B serial founder. I founded a medtech marketplace. Then I built the sales and service structure for a medtech device company, and now we are in the process of disrupting material characterization. And if you have any questions about material characterization, or if you do something with powder X-ray diffraction, you have to talk to me afterwards. My background: I have a PhD in physics. I'm the dad of 3 wonderful children. We live as a family together close to Berlin. I worked in engineering before I then, founded companies and focused on sales and marketing. So today we're going to talk about the German market. And I have to apologize for the pictures. None of them are real. Everything is AI generated. And apparently the AI thinks Germany looks like that. Nowhere in Germany it looks like that. But we are living in Europe's biggest economy. There are now 84 million people living here. We have a big section of that is actually foreigners, and I think right now around about 1 million Ukrainians are living in Germany. One of the biggest assets you will find in Germany is great logistics. Not so much, the public train system, which is, buggy, but it has great frequency, and the Autobahn is still amazing. And you can cover from a service and sales perspective wise, you can cover all of Germany with a comparably small team because you can travel half of Germany in a day, right? I done that as head of sales and kind of like CEO of Germany multiple times, kind of like driven to Frankfurt and kind of like driven back in a day. You can do that, and that is a big advantage for a country of that size. Because we are relatively, fluent, kind of like there is a bunch of buying power. And because the market is comparably large, you have every company that is doing something is also trying to do it in Germany. And that means you have lots and lots of competition. And that is something you really have to consider when coming here. One of the things that comes from that competition is a massive price sensitivity at the, kind of consumer, but also at the business level. What do I mean by that? So the best example for that comes from this consumer space. We have Aldi, and you may or may not know Aldi, but the idea of Aldi was to bring a very limited selection of goods and in a supermarket, but to bring that limited amount of goods at exceptional prices. And what happened was premium products had a, kind of like basic, kind of like branding or an Aldi branding. And they sold the premium products for the cheapest price through Aldi. So that means as a German consumer, you learned long time ago, you can get premium products for, the lowest price in the market. So different than in the US where cheap means usually bad. In Germany, cheap doesn't mean that. You have to test the product and then decide, but it could be that the cheapest product is actually top tier. So that you have to keep in mind when you talk to German, right? So for them, price is not correlated strictly with quality, right? And we are, comparably conservative. So the German consumer and the German business is not known to be early adopters, right? And again, the pictures on this slide have nothing to do with the German socioeconomic structure. Same here, right? So the market entry is difficult, right? You have a hyper competitive environment, and we can talk about this a little bit more. And on the other hand, you have high customer expectations, right? And I mean this, you have like not just quality of the product, quality of the service, the language ability of your team, kind of like all of that. So, kind of like now we go into healthcare as the perfect example of this. And that is just because there is my deepest expertise, and we can talk a little bit about that. So the German healthcare market is the fourth largest in the world. We have pretty much everybody is insured. We have almost 2,000 hospitals, and we have 150,000 doctors who run private practices. So you may or may not, kind of like know this model. So we have hospitals which you only go for surgery, pretty much. There's a little bit of other stuff, but kind of like if you think as a German, you think hospital, you go for surgery. For everything outside surgery, therapy, kind of like feel bad, I go to my local doctor. And there is the Hausarzt, which is a general practitioner. And then there are even specialties. So we have gynecologist, urologist, skin doctors, of course, the dentist. It's pretty much like the dentist just for every other specialty too. So what we have here is we have a dual insurance system. So almost 90% of people are publicly insured, and that means there is, I will talk about this a little bit. And then when you are not publicly insured, you can choose to insure yourself privately. And for that, you need to have a certain income. And then you can go and insure private, and private just gives you additional services, right? You will always be treated by the head of the department in a hospital, right? In public, you just get treated by the intern, whatever, right? So, but that is the pretty much the difference. Public, you take the next appointment that is available, kind of like at some point. Private, kind of like you get today in half an hour an appointment whenever you want it. So, but kind of like there's in the quality of the doctors, and so there's very little difference. So we have universal healthcare coverage. There's no cap on any treatments. It's very, very fragmented. We have the public is not one insurance, so it's not like NHS, right? It's really, I think we have 200 insurances who fall under the public plan, and they provide a standardized service, which is also, kind of like doesn't so there is a competition, but it's really, kind of like on the margins, they can differentiate. There is lots of stakeholders and a strict regulatory framework for everything. But there is so this is the insurance kind of part, and I don't think if I did a great job to explain that. But on the other hand, we have private hospitals. So most hospitals are private, or there are private companies who are owned by public institutions. So city hospital, the city hospital is actually a limited company, and they are run like a company. Then you have the individual doctors. Kind of like this is a prosumer segment, right? They can make decisions as kind of like they like to. They're like your lawyer or your architect, right? So you're freewheeling artists in a sense. And so you have those two things, but you don't have one big hospital running company like again the NHS, right? You have more. I think we have. My guess would be we have something like 500 hospital companies, right? So there are very few who run multiple ones. You have lots of individual doctors. There is just really pretty much one doctor, one office, right? I think the ratio is like 1.5. There are a couple of ones that are multiple doctors, but there is no big, chains of doctors offices, right? So you have those are your customers, right? And then you have for the private hospitals, you have the GPOs in the middle, right? And GPOs are group purchasing organizations. So they try to leverage kind of like their bundle demand, and try to get better prices. And that could be a good distribution channel. And then for individual doctors, you have dealers, local dealers who supply the local population of doctors, and there is two of those structures. Two of those structures. One is one is for dentists, and one is for almost all other doctors, right? And those do not intermingle so much. But for a dentist, you can think, I think I calculated at some point, one office of a dealer, and that means kind of like a couple of sales reps, but one sales rep can live off, I think it was 5 to 10 doctor's offices. So if you have a dentist, kind of like dentist sales rep, they need 10 dentist offices and they are doing fine, right? They can pay for themselves if they have 10 regular. So kind of like that is, kind of like, and then for the general doctors, that's way worse, because the dentists are actually consuming a lot of things. So again, we have super high price sensitivity, right? Doctors don't like to pay for anything. Lots of this stuff is just good enough, right? Good enough and best price, you can win a significant market share. Still, kind of like we have high quality expectations. German doctors in generally love German products, right? So they need to be the interface needs to be in German. Kind of like there's tons of regulation around the German IFU, instruction for use, but you need to have everything in order to enter the market, and then you compete just on price, right? The competition is massive in that market. It's right. You have like German medtech is world renowned. I think we don't have any sector of the market where there is not a German company playing in the top field, and everybody else tries to compete with that company in their home market, and usually they do this through price. And the purchasing decision is, I find it very much price driven, or you have one particular feature that is game changing. If you have that, kind of like you have pricing power. But kind of like if you don't have a clear leadership in one very important vertical, kind of like if you access, you just lose, right? If you're second best, if you the second cheapest, you will lose. If you have if you are expensive, but your features are just second best to Philips, GE, or kind of like whoever you're competing with, you will lose. It's super tough, right? And I have good friends who run companies like that, and they have a really hard time being successful in Germany. Wait, what happens here? Okay, so for hospitals, kind of like it's pretty much kind of like a big industry account. You have a direct sales, you have a GPO involvement, sometimes the general purchase organization. You have very long sales cycles, very long. They're even leveraging that. So what they do is they make very long demos. So kind of like if you want to sell in ultrasound, it's no surprise to you when the hospital says like, oh yeah, kind of like we want to test your system for 3 months. And they do this with everybody who's competing for that tender. So, kind of like that's 4 companies for devices. So they have covered a year without a cost, right? So think about that, kind of like how much power you have to have as a buyer in order to get that through. You have extensive tender processes, very long, kind of like tenders can take 12 to 18 months, no problem. Then, underneath you have like 2 doctors. You go often through distribution networks. So kind of like what I found is in the German healthcare system, manufacturers try to sell directly to hospitals and go through distributors to doctors, which is, if doctors is a secondary market for you, that is maybe fine, right? Because you go to hospitals, you get your product into the hospital, the doctor actually gets to know your product, and then when she actually goes out and founds her own private practice, she is used to your product, and then you have a good chance that she will come to you and she can ask at the distributor for your product, and then she will buy. But distributors have it's very hard to align your incentives perfectly with a distributor, because they just have so much stuff to sell, and they have to cover a lot of doctors with a lot of different demands. So distribution is tough in that market. German distributors expect that their margin is 35% and more. So, kind of like if you think you have a good price and that price relies on you taking like 90%, that is not going to fly with a German distributor. I mean, like nowhere, right? It's more like if you think Amazon takes a lot of this margin, you have not worked with a German distributor. So marketing and sales, they will not do push marketing, they will not do push sales. That is expected from you to do. So you have still to go to all the conferences and get the leads, and then you hand over the leads, but then you have to follow up with the distributor that they actually followed up on the lead. So it's pretty intense. It's not that this is an easy solution of everything. And then you still are expected to support their service, right? Because such a distributor has a wide variety of products. They cannot be expected to know every complex product. So that is your job still. And they still take 35%. So it's, kind of like, it's tough. Customer expectation in general, all right? And that is, kind of like, I talk now very medical market, but I expect that is true in most markets. We expect German-speaking sales and service. The Germans speak English, but most of them don't speak it so well. So German-speaking sales and service. You need to have a German office at some point, right? Kind of like somewhere. It's just, kind of like people get suspicious if they have to ship something to Poland or, even further away. I mean, I think the Ukraine generally is very well liked right now. I at least from my discussions. So there's I would say high leniency, but generally you do better when you have a German office. Fast response times, right? Kind of like nobody likes to have a service person coming by in 4 weeks, right? So, they want to know that their problem is taken care of, maybe not solved within 24 hours, but at least you're working on and you can give fast feedback. In-person support is still, kind of like the gold standard. So coming back to the Autobahn, you actually drive a lot to your customers and sit in doctors' offices. And so that is, kind of like you want to have the full solution for that. You don't have to have that in the very beginning, but if you don't plan for this, you will be surprised, kind of like how much that actually costs, and then maybe the German market is not worthwhile. So, if you're talking about barriers, price, we talked about this extensively. Adoption behavior, we're pretty slow in that. Validation, you need to have ideally, kind of like some lighthouse customers you can point to, reference customers that actually work. We have not talked about reimbursement. I don't know if there are so many healthcare products. So, kind of like if you want to talk about this a little bit more, call me, connect to me on LinkedIn. And yeah, so for me, the success factors is always if you have a Me Too product, or if you have an as good as product, pricing is in Germany super, super important. If you are offering something completely new, you have a lot of, kind of like space to work in, because there is actually money if you have value that nobody else is delivering. So think about that, right? You have to have a working product. people in Germany expect, the normal customer expect things to work. There are the typical early adopters, so, but I feel like they're a little less than somewhere else. Local market presence, at least you have to think this through if you go to the German market. You don't have to start with it, but think about it. How to get a local office, how to get German support and stuff like that. I think with AI, this now, kind of like, at least you can write emails in German, right? You just let it be translated by whatever LLM you trust most. So that's good. And if you work with distributions, it's not going to make your life so much easier. It just, shifts the problem. If you work well with distributors, take your pick. So we have a very complex market, right? With lots and lots of players, right? So it's usually the German consumer has a plethora of choice, right? Which means there is the price quality paradoxon. And the healthcare market in particular is a good example of that. So yeah, I think I am in time. So I appreciate your attention, and happy to take questions and connect with me on LinkedIn under Dr. Sebastian Winkler, and you will find me as the CEO of Momentum Transfer. Thanks a lot. And yeah, I can share the slides. I think I already shared the slides with Alexander.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Market. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but I see we have one hand.
Але чимось іншою мається на увазі з інших питань. Але я їх буду перевіряти в цілому. Візьмуть купнут, які він дії проводив під час військового стану. І побачить, що він проводив дії з
Maybe it's easier if you write it in the Q&A, because maybe the connection is a bit bad. Or Sebastian, did you understand?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. But if you want to write the question in the chat, I'm super happy to answer. I have to leave in 5 minutes, but that's kind of like I'm happy to stay for 5 minutes and answer questions. No problem. So if there is any questions, just kind of like I think there is a chat.
Yes. But otherwise, very much thank you, Sebastian, for joining us this morning. Because I don't see any questions coming in at the hand. And thank you for sharing the slides. I will send them as well. Super interesting. I already told, but I didn't know Germany was such a competitive market. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's everybody thinks Germany is rich, so everybody can come here and earn a lot of money, which is kind of like, and I think it's possible, but you have to have a very clear structure in this, because if it's easy for it's how to say this, if it's easy in one dimension, it makes up in another, right? So if it's kind of like if people have a lot of money, lots of people compete for that money, right? And so kind of like that is the situation we have here. So anyway, I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all stay warm. Unfortunately, that is a wish I have to make. Slava Ukraina.
We don't hear you, Alex. Alexandra, you're off. You're mute.
Ah, sorry. Do you hear me? No. No, but thank you so much, Sebastian. Talk to you later. Very good. And now I want to welcome our next panelist who's already joining us from the morning, Veronica from Hamburg Invest, who's going to talk more about the investment landscape in Germany. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alexandra. And I also brought my colleague Evgeny Narodetsky with me.
Oh,
Yes. So yeah, from Sebastian, we already learned that there's lots of money in Germany, but there's also it's a very complex market. And to really help you understand one part of the complex market, we are bringing some example from Germany with us. So Germany is not only large; it's also divided into different states, and Hamburg is the city state of Germany. And Yevgeny and I, we work for that, and I will just share our slides. You should see the presentation now, correct?
yes, we see.
Perfect. So yes, so my name is Veronica, and I work for Hamburg Invest. And Hamburg Invest is a business development entity of the city of Hamburg. Yevgeny is from the international team, focusing also on Ukraine, but also on some other markets. And for me, it's the startup ecosystem of Hamburg. Yeah. So in case you're not familiar with Hamburg, this is an impression. So what's specific about Hamburg is that it's a city state. So what does it mean? Of course, we're part of Germany, but we have our own government, and in a certain way also are free to have our own legislation in some parts that are not federal law or EU law. As you can see here, Hamburg is very unique in a way that it's rooting back to long tradition. So this is our traditional warehouse district, which is also a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage, but it's also a very modern city, and it's very rich. Just checking, is Yevgeny with us?
Hello, good day, good morning. Okay, yes. Good morning also from my side. Welcome to our presentation today about Hamburg as economic hotspot in the north of Germany. Yes, Veronica and I will showcase why Hamburg is a perfect location for startups and innovation companies, and what we can offer in the case of networking and resources in our city. So Hamburg is the second biggest city of Germany. We have very long trading tradition. We are like more than 800 years, very dynamic and business location. And nowadays we can be proud have not just the highest GDP per citizens over another German cities, but also the highest retail spending capacity of about 26,000 euros per person. Altogether, so we have very sustainable economic growth of about 2 to 3% per year. And so we can define the city of Hamburg like a second biggest city of the third strongest economy of the world. I mean, Germany. You see in the middle the map of our metropolitan region. So you have to understand this configuration like integration project between Hamburg and all neighborhood districts. There's a target, there's a goal of creating this metropolitan region, was the idea to put the all economic power, manpower together, and to make the northern Germany more competitive against another German regions or another European regions. That means that startups and innovative, but the startups innovative companies have access not just to almost 2 million inhabitants in Hamburg, but more to the more than 5 million potential clients in the northern Germany. Next, which do you want to tell something, Veronica, about this slide? So 3 years ago, Hamburg and Kiev, we set up several platforms for strong our collaboration just after the starting the war, and the solidarity part between Hamburg and Kiev was created by our majors of Petr Chencha and Vitaly Klitschko for strong our political and economic relationships. You see also another organization initiative called We Are All Ukrainians. We have also a lot of such foundations and associations with the target to support people coming to Hamburg, refugees, but also to provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Our common project between our Hamburg Invest and Ukrainian Startup Fund was that we invited 12 selected Ukrainian startups on the shared booth at the online marketing Rockstars Festival 1 year ago. So it was a perfect opportunity for Ukrainian startups to promote own services, goods, and to stay in touch with German startups on this online marketing Rockstars Festival in Hamburg. On this slide, you see our impressive economic potential. We have around about 180,000 companies registered by the Chamber of Commerce. It is obligation to be a part of the Chamber of Commerce. We have around about 900 international companies from Asian region, among them just 500 from China. Due to the very strong relationship to Scandinavian region, we have 300 companies from that region. 300 from United States, and we have round about 40-50 companies from Ukraine located in Hamburg and doing business in our city. So over these corporates are searching permanent for solutions for their solutions. So it's a great option for startups to be in Hamburg, to do the business out of Hamburg, and to stay in touch with these corporates and provide own services for these companies, for these brands. Yes, it's just an imagination of our port of the city. So Hamburg is a leading distribution hub in Europe. We have the second largest logistic infrastructure after London. Hamburg port is a leading port by dealing with China and belong to the biggest 20 ports in the world. In Europe, we rank the third place after Rotterdam and Antwerp by handling cargo. So it's also great option for all startups in supply chain management, in mobility, to be in Hamburg and provide services for a logistic and mobility industry. And on this slide, you see our clusters. Clusters have the target to support future-oriented industries. The clusters are conducted by the city and by the members, and are financed by the city and by the members. So all the newcomers, all the startups and companies with innovative background have a great options after they set up own company in Hamburg to apply for the membership by clusters and receive their services over the one hand, like networking, perfect infrastructure, research and development, connections, options for events, promoting own products, demo days, meetup, invest. So, and you see this industries like aviation, life sciences, logistic, renewable energy, media and IT belong to the industry supported by our city. And I guess I have to give over to you, Veronica.
Yes, as my colleague correctly stated, so as you've seen, Hamburg is quite diverse. It's a city-state, and I always like to use the slogan of the European Union because I think that translates to Hamburg as well. Hamburg is united in diversity when it comes to sectors, at least. And so welcome to the startup hotspot of Hamburg, which I understood you mostly, all of you are founders, so this is particularly interesting to you. Hamburg, I guess this is no surprise, having seen the slides before, has a lot to offer for startups. So this is basically the logo overside of everything that Hamburg has to offer. And this is what we are here for. So Hamburg Invest, being 100% financed by the city of Hamburg, we provide support to founders as you, who are in the beginning of founding a startup, or who are coming from Germany or, of course, from other countries, just being interested in the city of Hamburg to see whether there can be some potential support there. When we look at the startup ecosystem facts of Hamburg, we have roughly 1,500 startups at the moment, ranging, of course, all different sectors. At the moment, not surprising, of course, very much trending is AI, but also we have a lot of startups in the medical field, especially in the clinic sector. So I was very keen to listen to Sebastian's presentation. And in terms of venture capital, there has been an increase. Of course, there was a huge increase in COVID, but also the numbers keep on steadily rising, and there's more and more VC deals happening in Hamburg. We do have a lot of public funding support, especially one organization which is also implemented by the city of Hamburg. So it's our state financial bank, if you want to say so. It's a public institution, and they provide for the first stage and second stage, these are funds that you don't have to pay back. The idea is more that that startups founders are supported in the early stage, and then that they become successful companies and that they have tax returns, and then the money is being brought back into the system. But there's also a fund and some other supporting institutions. And then also exists, this is particularly for founders from universities, and High-Tech Gründerfonds is a federal support system. It's partially public, but there's also some private investors now. So InnoFounder, for instance, is up to 75,000 euros, and InnoRampUp is 150,000 euros. Of course, there's a lot of conditions, so if you want to know more about this, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards. This is our investor scene. Hamburg is not too far from Berlin by fast train connection. It's roughly 1.5 hours, a little bit more sometimes. So in Berlin, there's a lot of VCs based. It's no problem having a VC funded your startups while being in Hamburg. Yet Hamburg, being a very rich city-state, a very rich city with a lot of successful individuals, it's no surprise that the business angel number is quite high. And so you can see at the moment, or this is actually from last year, that the majority of our funding or investors are business angels. What can you do in order to find out more? Because this really has just been a sneak peek. We can tell you much more about all the different sectors. So if you're interested in the startup ecosystem of Hamburg, the first site, the first source of information is Startup City Hamburg. You can punch that into Google or whatever you prefer as your searching engine, and you can find all the information about investors, our public support, our private support, whatever. And then also, I want to tell you about a specific program which has been set up by the city of Hamburg, especially for international startups. It's called the Scale Up Landing Pad, where we work together with dedicated Hamburg companies who are looking for startup solutions in the fields that they have problems with. And this program, you can scan this QR code. They have a focus on green tech, and our colleagues, so Evgeny and I and my colleagues are then sourcing for the best solutions for these companies. And if you're then as a startup working with them, they support you getting a foothold into the German market. So it's a really good program. We're doing this in the 3rd year now, and yeah, it's super popular, and we're becoming more and more Hamburg-based companies to work with us. And then also, this is how we work. So as I mentioned, Hamburg Invest is 100% financed by the city of Hamburg, and all of our services are free of charge. And we start talking with startups, companies very early on, and then we have an internal referral system. As I mentioned, Evgeny works international investment. I work for the startup unit. But of course, if you're interested in settling or making an entity in Hamburg, we also provide a consultation for commercial space or real estate. Yeah, when coming to successes regarding to Ukraine, apart from the strategic partnership that the city of Hamburg has with Kiev, particular, and the group of Ukrainians that we invited in 2023 to OMR. There's, for instance, Yad Kabin, who are 2 founders from Ukraine, and they started they started from scratch in Hamburg, and they recently applied for one of our public programs, so Founder. So they applied for a grant up to 75,000 euros, and they got a yes by InnoFounder, and they currently try to they are currently in the process of receiving this money. And then also Neural Affinity is an AI startup, and one of the co-founders has a Ukrainian background. She has a German co-founder, currently in the US. It's an AI startup, so very successful. What can you do to stay in touch with us? These are our contact details. And if you do want to have an individual consultation, please scan the QR code and book a consultation. We have a whole set of colleagues who can consult you on everything that startups need to know when it comes to Hamburg or Germany. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Hi, Veronica. So we have one question there from Anton, just asking for some advice on acceleration programs for foreign robotic startups.
So robotics, in which field? That's a question. When it comes to robotics, I mean, as Evgeny mentioned as well, we're strong on civil aviation. So I would think that they are good in robotics, and we have their I feel, and they focus also on on developing the aviation side further. So this could be something. And but I think it's best to dive deeper in this business model to more understand, and then talk about this on an individual basis. So please do get in touch with me.
Great. We'll pass out your details anyway, so they'll be able to contact you
Perfect.
afterwards. Thanks very much for your question, Anton.
Any more questions from the audience? Otherwise, I love this as a last question. Veronica, do you have any tips in general for foreign and especially Ukrainian entrepreneurs for securing investments in Hamburg or in Germany in general? Like if you have one best tip.
I mean, it's just general startup tips, of course. You have to be open to feedback and have a good business case that fits the market and be convincing. But this is, I mean, Ukrainian founders are the same as anyone else. So yeah, I mean, just general tips.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Maybe because Yevgeny is focused on, I think, is he still there? He's much more involved in Ukraine because he's been there a lot as well. But yeah. I mean, do contact me afterwards. I was glad to be here. Thank you very much. And then hopefully lots of people will contact us, and then we can have individual talks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica and Winnie. It was very nice to have you both here. And great job. I didn't know about Hamburg, that it was so big in the investments. Fun to hear. So a lot of opportunities to your startups out there, guys. And thank you for joining us and upskilling us. Have a great day, both of you. So it's great getting, of course, investments from VCs or private equities. But here, what's amazing with City of Bravery is that we have non-refundable grants that's also with non-equity. In total, if you apply to all of the program, this can lead up to 60,000 euros in total grants. And our 5 programs are these: innovation services, entrepreneurship, rebuilding Ukraine, deep tech scale up, and deep tech incubation. And like I said, you can apply for multiple. And if we go to the next slide, I was talking about it a bit in the beginning. The thing with City of Bravery is this is not a program just about the grants. It's also a program supporting your upskilling. We have, for example, one thing we're all very involved with. It's called matchmaking. So we're helping you to get matchmake both with investors. It can be with accelerators, but also key like pilot customers. We also have specific female entrepreneurship programs. And then we have different upskilling programs like this, German market discovery days, a program called a fast track program, demo days where we can network with investors. And then we also have deep tech business creation and acceleration education for scientists and innovators. And we can also, just while we're waiting, go through what Impact Hub is. If you want to take last slide, Abby. So this is just very short about the organization I'm working with. It's called Impact Hub, and it's a global network where we're supporting entrepreneurs all around the world. We actually have an office in Odessa. So if you are ever in Odessa, please go there and say hi for me. But we're located in over 100 cities all across the world in 55 plus countries. And we're doing programs similar to this, but like I said, in local contexts all around the world. And also, if you have any questions in regards to City of Bravery, please reach out to us. Of course, we're here to support you. And we can actually take the last slide. This is just a reminder about the next cutoff date. The next cutoff date is 25th of November. So please apply before that, and you can meet us again in a different circumstance, and of course also get the grant. So I can see that we're going to change the schedule a bit. So I'm thinking that we can take a 10 minutes break and then come back to the program. So we see each other in 10 minutes. Thank you so much. I'm thinking we can start again. I hope everyone is back, and I hope you had a good short break. So welcome back to German Market Discovery Day. Here we have Livia from Blue Factory in Berlin, who's going to talk about the different support system for entrepreneurs. And like always, the stage is yours.
So hi everyone, I'm Livia from SCP Blue Factory. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I cannot really see anyone's face, but I guess we'll do it like that. So yeah, thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here. Especially because I got really excited about this invitation because I'm an immigrant myself. And I wish I had knew some stuff when I first arrived in Berlin 10 years ago. And yeah, and so I'm going to share a little bit about it. So about my journey, what I really believe is that what took me 10 years, I really could have achieved in 2 with the right guidance, because as Steve Jobs says, like really deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. And yeah, can the audience talk or speak or anything? So
no, they can just use the Q&A session.
Okay.
They can write.
Okay. Yeah, so a little bit about me and my background. So I'm originally from Brazil. As I mentioned, I moved 10 years ago to Germany. And I'm an entrepreneur. I founded 3 businesses, 1 in Brazil and 2 here in Germany. And the first one was a success. I started an agency in my living room, and in 1 year we reached more than $850K in revenue. I was a solo founder there. Then I did e-commerce, a gin startup here in Germany. That was a hobby and evolved into a business. That I had a tiny merger to a German company. And then afterwards, I did a sustainable groceries platform called Era Zero Waste, which I did with 2 other co-founders. And we did it for 5 years. We almost sold it for a very big company from Russia right before the war, and the deal didn't go through because of obvious reasons. And so I said I had a success, average success, and a complete flop in that order, unfortunately. But that taught me a lot on the way. And I knew I was an entrepreneur in Brazil. I did my whole career in innovation, worked in corporates before, and working for big pharma, distribution companies, and so on. And in Brazil, I studied for one of the top business schools in there. But when I arrived in Germany, even though I had won my first success in the pocket, that agency that I did with for 5 years, basically I sent all my CVs around, and no one would reply. No one would give me a chance. And I said, and my friend said, oh, you should just go. So be humble, work on whatever you can get. You don't have to work in your field. And then I thought, you know what? I can start from the ground up, but I don't want it to. But I really don't want it to be to go really outside of my zone, because That's super important. So that was a very good decision that I have done, that I really started from. So since the first job that I got in sales over the phone for Brazil, it was already in a tech startup. I already started building my network. So that was super important. And the second part that I noticed, that I found out only later on, is that since people didn't know, even though the companies I have worked in Brazil, even though my agency had amazing clients, people didn't know, most of them. So the Germans, they really needed some sort of backbone for something that they were aware that would minimize their risk. Like, oh, how can you have achieved so much in such a young age? People would think I would lie. And I found out that people called my customers, people called my old bosses, in some cases, to really see if that was the reality. And then what I did, I decided Germany has an amazing thing, which is free education, basically, right? And I enrolled myself in a master's in innovation, management, and sustainability at TU Berlin. And that has proven, if before I would send 50 CVs, I would get one answer. Oh, no, thank you. I started sending like 50 CVs just with during my master's, and I'll get 25 replies. So this made a massive difference. Another thing that Berlin has that you shouldn't really take it for granted. We have the city has the potential of being one of the biggest, the best startup hub in the world, if not one of them. And one of the reasons why it's not that high there is because the amount of patents is still not that high. But in terms of the startup ecosystem, is as active and powerful as I would try to stay close to the Silicon Valley, because as everybody knows, here in Berlin especially, there's so many meetups, so many ways to meet people. All the major European VCs, not all, most of them have offices in Berlin, so it's very easy for you to meet powerful people and build your network. And I missed years not really nurturing that, going to just a few meetups. But the best way to really get deep into the startup ecosystem in Germany is to take part of WhatsApp, not so much Telegram, but WhatsApp communities and the events they host. So the co-working spaces are also a great opportunity. I know that Factory used to have a program for Ukrainian immigrants, refugees, and unfortunately they're gone, but I bet that CIC has other things that are really, really great. So co-working spaces, and really go become a social bee and join. If you're a woman, then the opportunity is gigantic. I'm gonna send you after the call a few communities and great things, great events that you should really aim for attending. And honestly, that's how I finally got my first jobs. I would just go to the events. After the sales job, I just started going to the events, and I saw a cool startup that I wanted to work on. I had my CV on my shoulder, and I would just say, oh, hey, I can do this. I like your startup. And people are not really used to hustlers and people who knock on their door with their CV, and they really respect that. So I got a lot of interviews and great opportunities this way without having a German background. So even though my name is German, I'm not. So that also was helpful. So then a little bit, so long story short, since I don't have a lot of time to talk today, I'm happy to send you about the communities, the entrepreneurs, the network. I hope I didn't say. And another thing that's really, really great in the in Berlin ecosystem, because you have Berlin.de, which is an organization from from the city of Berlin that they do one-on-one consultations with entrepreneurs, and they really help them to see, okay, I need to get information about my visa. I need to learn what are the grants I can apply for. And it's free and everybody can do it. So what a lot of other cities, Hamburg and other guys that spoke before, try to say, they're trying to build their ecosystem, but Berlin already has it really well established and with a lot of support for entrepreneurs. And so now I'm going to jump a little bit about the Blue Factory. So after all that journey, 3 startups, I tried to build my next one. I joined a few entrepreneurship programs like Antler and Blockchain Founders Group. I tried to find great teams or an idea that I was really excited about. And I found that didn't work out. During my startup days at Era, my last startup, one mistake that I really did, that I really wish I didn't do, is that I spent a lot of time really getting grants. So we got, I would say, a lot 6-digit funding from equity rank for grants and competitions. And even though that sounds fascinating and great to be able to bootstrap your startup without giving any money away, that's usually quite a waste of time, because people can lose a lot of time in funding and applying for grants or building even your product. But what moves the needle is other stuff. Okay, now I'm gonna jump to what is the Blue Factory. So after my whole entrepreneurial journey and joining so many grants, competitions, and startups, I found out that the best, what I could really help the environment, the startup ecosystem, is by sharing a little bit about my knowledge by joining programs. So after joining, I think, 12 with my last startup, waste of time, by the way, I reached out to ESCP, one of the top business schools here in Germany and in Europe, to say, guys, I think I know how you could make the best startup programs out there. And they took on my pledge and allowed me to do it. And just for you to have a background, what is a Blue Factory? So ESCP Business School and Blue Factory. So ESCP Business School is like top 1 finance MBA masters in the world, one of the top MBAs as well. It's a French grande école, and it's a school that invests a lot. Besides being an amazing academic excellence and research institution, we really invest in entrepreneurs, and we support them to reach a very high. We are, I believe, the only one that provides not lifelong support. So we support entrepreneurs not only in the during their studies, but afterwards. We enable diversity of businesses. We believe that creating a startup is not the only way to create a business. You could be impactful and do great things, even in traditional industries. Okay, if you want to create an agency, or like I did, like a beverage brand, is also okay. Or if you want to do a small business, as long as they're responsible. And what is the best thing about this business school is that we have 6 campuses: Berlin, Warsaw, Paris, London, Madrid, and Turin in Italy, and 4 entrepreneurship centers. So you can, if you want to expand, you already have a soft landing in all those places. So far, we have already created 6 unicorns in our startups, like Aircall and Hugging Face. Probably, I guess a lot of people know Hugging Face, which is AI platform. And we and we have a massive alumni community and more than I think 12,000 engaged in entrepreneurship, being corporate innovators, founders, or investors. And we have a tight community of over 300 people. They're actively founders that are actively engaging with the Blue Factory. So for you to have an idea of the impact of ESCP and Blue Factory in the German ecosystem, if you look at the number of startups created in Germany, Technical University Munich, TU München, CDTM, everybody knows, creates 810. And ESCP, the numbers were not that good here, but the thing really changes when you look for the amount of students. So this is the amount of startups created for every 10,000 students. So when you look like that, we have a lot less students and we create a lot more startups. So 1,151 per 10,000 students. ESCP is the biggest one in Germany. And when you look at the amount of funding for the startups and the valuation, also the startups that are created in our school are quite high numbers. So usually WAJU is really well known for it. ESCP, we are still developing our brand, so not many people know about it. So why do you think, why you're presenting for me? Why it's in for us? I said, you actually can apply for the ESCP Blue Factory. Is one of the things we are aim for, is to give opportunity for other startups to reach our programs and get our support. And being starting, so we have right now 5 programs. 5th is not here. And start is like pre-idea, pre-team, pre-everything, is really getting inspired about entrepreneurship and get to a prototype stage. Launch happens twice a year, and next applications close in February. And who already has a prototype and is serious about their startup and wants to get. And we have seeds for who is an investment readiness program, which the startups that are investment ready, we also help with introductions to investors, which is super powerful thing. And we have scale program, which is not here, but is for startups that already have more than 1 million in revenue. We work side by side with the entrepreneurship professors to get to 10x revenue. And so far we had 2 cohorts. The average revenue increase was 4x, so not bad. And Exist, this is available for everyone. And the Exist is for technology-driven programs. So that's a great thing. You can get equity-free grant of 35K for your startup, and a stipendium, a scholarship that lasts for 1 year, depending on how your educational level. You also can get that grant through us. So this grant is offered by the German government, and we are one of the allowed universities to provide this grant funding. So I'm also going to share the link for applications for you guys. And actually, you can access the link for applications in this QR code. I thought it before. And so take a picture and you can go in there. And if you'd like to also book a one-on-one 15 minutes talk to me later about your ideas and if it would make sense for you to apply for one of the programs, we're really happy to get diversity and smart minds on more smart minds in our programs. I guess that's it.
Thank you so much, Livia, for presenting. And interesting to hear how many startups there actually are at the school. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I've actually heard a lot of good things about Berlin. They have a very big VC landscape, I've heard, and a lot of cool startups. We actually have a hub there as well who has been informing us about it.
Our startups and our unicorn startups, they're divided. It's the whole university. We have, as I mentioned, 4 entrepreneurship centers. It's not only, I cannot take the credit for all of them.
It's not only you. But thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Then you can ask them in the Q&A. Thank you very much, Livia.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Livia. So now we're taking a short break until, I'm going to say, what is this in, I think it's 12 in Ukrainian time, right? Just 5 minutes. And then we're going to listen to Impact Hub from Germany. See you guys very soon. Goodbye. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is back. Now we have a colleague of mine, actually, but from Impact Hub Germany, who's going to talk about the different entrepreneurial supports existing in Germany and maybe focus a bit on Impact Hub. So a warm welcome to Martin Stowe. I'm not good with my German, but from Impact Hub. Thank you so much for joining
totally
us.
all right. Thanks so much. So let me try to share the screen. Right, and here we go. Do you see the right thing? Maybe?
Yes, we see.
Potentially.
We see it.
Here we go.
Yes,
All
this
right.
is the right thing. Perfect.
So, and now I just need to make it big. Yeah, sure. All right. So thanks for bearing with me. My name is Martin. I'm a co-founder of Impact Hub in Leipzig, and there's a couple of teams that we've seen entering Germany before. We're happy about any Ukrainian teams exploring the German market and the European market. One of our co-founders has been working with GTAI, and that's the Germany Trade and Invest, and has been helping companies to come to Germany for a long time. And that's why it's really special for me to be working with Impact Hub Stockholm today, and maybe also with a few teams that have been to Impact Hub Odessa before one day in the past. You already know that we have 120 Impact Hubs in 68 countries, I'm sure. So my 4 points that I would go through with you are an initiation, a market check, and then it's maybe about the market test, and then about development and eternally making good business in Germany. Exactly. And there's always some fires on the side if you have an entrepreneurship thing going on. You know that I'm here with you now. And I hope that you become one of the 22,000 members of Impact Hubs worldwide. Maybe you become one of the 1,600 members in Germany. If you become an Impact Hub Germany member in one of the Impact Hubs, you can tour the other cities. So much for the advertisement. You can work from the other places as well. It's how we try to serve the communities. Each of us has some acceleration programs or incubation programs, but we also have local communities that, that just like each other, support each other. And that's also the thing that I will share with you in general today, because there is no such thing as Germany, in my opinion. A lot of different locations with a lot of very different bubbles and ecosystems. So what do we have here? If we look at the market entrance, then in my opinion, with Germany, you have a very slow country, a risk-averse country, and a country full of doubts. So you have maybe the first task to understand who you really are, also as a team, with your service, but also as a team. Once you've cracked that, Germany can become your home base in some ways. But it's not an easy marketer, and it takes a budget entry. We can keep the budget smaller by having some hacks, and I will hopefully serve you with some things about this in the next 10 minutes. So if we think of you, and that's my hypothesis, I don't see you at the moment, happy to hear more about special cases and specific requests. But if you think about entering Germany for the first time, it's probably good to look at different local networks and also at your domain network, and to become part of a few communities. So in this phase, I think you need to understand what jobs have to be done. Do you really need to set up an enterprise? Can you already service a market from your Stockholm base or your Ukraine base, or from a Romania or Poland or a UK base? Set up an exploration map and go on a roadshow through bubbles that you're exploring and testing. How do they feel for you? What type of events do feel right for you? Where do you meet customers or trusted partners of your potential customers? And also, what does it take to understand regulation? And then I think you already have some hypotheses for your ideal targets. Understand if this hypothesis also applies in Germany, because Germany is really different. We have seen a lot of Dutch companies that want to go into Germany and think, hey, Germany is a bit like the Netherlands, probably, but it's completely different after all. And it's very different in the east from the western border, for example. So you want to check out different actors, and these actors are customers, local community partners, specific market communities for your market that you want to be in. Is it energy? Is it deep tech, fintech, health, whatever it is? And then it's also like, why do you build a company? In some ways also to have fun, I hope. Let's not forget the fun. So which community do you want to belong to? How busy should it feel? How hard should it feel? How friendly does it have to be? Yeah. And maybe you didn't understand anything about this, so I'm gonna give you some examples now. So let's look at general support actors that you could meet in Germany to understand if there's a market for you, or if the thing that you think that it needs is already served here. Well, obviously, impact hubs are a good place. We have Cake Thursdays in Leipzig, I think Cake Tuesdays in Dresden. We have community events. People are welcomed into the networks. I think Berlin is working very English speaking. Everybody in the other hubs also speaks English. But then you also have impact hubs as parts of ecosystems, and they already can tell you about their local development banks, for example. If you don't know, or if you don't want to go on with impact hubs, there's also a thing that's called a DE hub initiative. That's different hubs for different sectors. So logistics is in Hamburg, smart infrastructure is in Leipzig, smart systems, like more deep tech stuff, is in Dresden. Check out the DE hub initiative. I didn't put you links, you can find everything anyways, and I wrote it down so that you can really take the notes. You can look at GTAI. The Germany Trade and Invest is the general agency in Germany. If they start liking you, they will take you to places. While you haven't invested in Germany, you're the prey for them. So they will want you, and they will want to make you a success case, but it also applies in all the other countries, right? You have JTAIs in different names for every country in the world, and you are the prey at the moment. And then you also have regional and local development agencies and onboarding agencies. So in Leipzig, for example, it's called Investregion Leipzig. In Hamburg, there's the Hamburg Launchpad. They all want to have you invest into the region, but they don't necessarily serve your clients. If they are really good, they will think of who could be your first client, and then they know that you will settle potentially where your clients are. One thing to know about a country is what are the best festivals, because during the festivals, everybody comes together. In Leipzig, there's the Machen Festival. In Munich, there's the Bits and Pretzels. In Frankfurt, there's the Impact Festival. In Hamburg, there's the OMR Festival. And in Berlin, there's the NOAA Conference. There's a couple of small festivals if you don't want to be at such a huge trade show. But if you want it even bigger, then you can go to trade shows that are for established companies, and they often have a young entrepreneur section too. Leipzig, Frankfurt, Berlin, München, Düsseldorf, Nuremberg, Hamburg. Then there's also support networks that are self-help centers, right? You have the Young Founders Network if you're below 26. You have the JCI if you're below 40. In Germany, it's called Wirtschaftsunion. And then there's a lot of local meetup groups everywhere, and you want to get a glimpse of them. But every team of you, I mean, there's 400, and I screened a bit through who's there. So I thought, if you are a specific actor, for example, you're a social startup, then if I were you, I would start going to Cent e.V., which is the social entrepreneurship network Germany. Maybe I stumble over things like sinsachsen.de or about the Impact Factory. And then I understand who they are connected with. And this list, I started drafting it, but it becomes longer and longer, and you go to their events. Maybe they have online events. And then you might start with this with social. If you're a health startup, you start with EIT Health. You then go maybe find the Medical Forge if you're still in acceleration phase. You find out about Martin Blaschka, you see his event, and he's handing you over to the next ones. It's still about getting into personal contact, in my opinion, in Germany a lot. It's about who knows who and who likes who, and gives you the entrance if you're not a D2C company that anyway serves their customers through the internet. If you're a food startup, I think Impact Hub Berlin with their food ecosystem is a good thing. You have these Regionalwelt setups in many places that unite a lot of agriculturers, and you have things that are called in Leipzig, for example, Ernährungsrat. And then the list goes on for you, and you find out what's your good ecosystem to start learning and selling. If you're in deep tech or in gaming, then I think SpinLab and the Art42 Gaming Hub are good. Tech Quartier in Frankfurt is a good partner to check out if you're in tech. And having such a list for you for a new market, I think that's one way to understand where could be good off-market entrance points and market entrance points. So once you have tapped into some of these things, I think it's about still understanding regulation. Are you really allowed to do things in Germany, and what does it take? Refining your ideal targets and where they gather, which events do they go to, and yeah, we are all in love with our ideas, but are they really standing a chance in Germany? Like collecting this data, how convincing is it? What makes them go into a meeting with you, into a deep meeting, which buzzwords, with which trigger words? And then it's about slowly starting to set up an infrastructure. And I think having a sales or business development responsible or representative, a sales rep in an impact hub or in another co-working space can be a very good entrance point to have somebody, or also to find somebody And then I think we slowly get into getting from customers also to media. You want to be in touch with media outlets, be talking with them, want to recruit some people. Do you need translation into German? Which is easier done actually, and it's an easy language to speak, even if people tell you differently. And then I think at the end, we are getting towards, do we need to lobby in order to make your thing available and allowed in Germany? But think of a German market entry in terms of 4 years, you know? German customers, if it's big clients buying from you, will need some time to respect you and to buy from you. They have long procurement processes in place. They need to do something that's called public tenders for many things. So I propose, if you want to have very quick market entries, to try that elsewhere. If you want to service a German market, take some power with you, stay in touch with us, make the first steps together with us. We are happy to serve you here. And maybe putting that into a nutshell again, if you're from Kiev, Berlin might be for you, or Düsseldorf. If you're from a smaller ecosystem, maybe also give a try for a smaller place somewhere, because then you're easier to be special. And if you have something that's not super innovative, but just a little bit innovative, you can still be the #1 innovation for that region that the Lord Mayor or the mayor is proud of if it's a smaller city, right? Germans are shy, they're timid, they're risk averse. Take some time to let them like you and to convince them, and find trusted partners that would take you to places. I showed you a lot of different bubbles. Try them all. Don't try just one just because you met an Impact Hub. You still need to meet everybody and do your own judgments, and don't take any learnings from elsewhere for granted. Germany is really different, and I have to say Berlin is different from Germany, right? Also Bavaria is different from Germany. There is no one Germany. So find your right spot where it feels right for you, where you have an ecosystem. And I think I'm staying within my time. Thanks for listening to you now, or handing over to the next speaker and to the moderators.
Thank you very much, Martin. It was super interesting, especially like you said, because Germany is such a big market. It's not really, like, we already heard difference between Berlin and Hamburg. There's also smaller cities that you can focus on. So thank you for giving that perspective. Super interesting. I just want to see, do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, we have one question here. So the question is to you, Martin. How do Germans feel about outsourcing to non-German entities? Do they prefer to set up a collaboration with a German company only?
So the outsourcing part is something that we get regular spam for, and it feels like spam, right? So somebody's saying, hey, do you want to outsource XYZ to somewhere, is coming regularly from different countries. And I think if it's coming through a cold email, then that's not the right approach. If we have a specific partnership and trust, and somebody has done this before, an entrepreneur in our network has done this before, he will speak good about it. So yeah, for example, we have one company here that's serving the sports market that does a lot with Thai-based programmers in Thailand, and now others start doing it. So if you're in the region and you start helping somebody and they learn it on the job and they say, wow, it's working well, I think that is the way to enter a German market. and everybody's super reluctant to do it. It's more about nearshoring now and getting things back, also with the geostrategic situations happening. So actually, I think it's good to have a German company and then to do things through your sub companies. If you can have a German face to the customer, people trust you more.
Similar to what we've been hearing before. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Otherwise, thank you so much, Martin, for your time. And
thanks for your time. I will share the presentation with you via email and feel free to distribute
perfect.
it.
And I will send
All
it
right.
to you all. Thank you.
Take
Goodbye,
care.
Martin.
Have a great day. Good luck to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You can always just email us if you have any questions. And like we said, we will share the presentations for this day. And this session is also recorded if you want to look back at any specific session. And yes, one last reminder is that the next cutoff date is 25th of November for all of the program. So please visit our website and start applying. And like I said, then we will probably meet in a different circumstance. But thank you all for today. I hope this was valuable, and I hope we see you in other programs. And thank you to all of our wonderful speakers. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.